I remember one of the first times I took a stand against my parents in something. I had went off to college my freshman year and I was living my own life on my own, and I decided it was time that I could do all the things that my parents had always told me I couldn't. See, I grew up in a pretty lenient home, to be honest, in a trusting house on most things. I never had a curfew. I could go pretty much anywhere I wanted as long as I told them where I was going. But the one hard and fast rule in my house growing up was about trust. And as long as you didn't break that trust, you were fine. But the other one was no earrings and no tattoos. Well, I went off to college and my roommate and I decided we would head down to the local jewelry store so I could get my ear pierced. And I dropped down $10 on the counter and I got a hole put in the lobe of my ear and I put an earring right in it and I felt liberated. I knew I was an adult now, and I called my dad ready to let him know I wasn't going to cower under the tyranny of his rule any longer. Well, my dad answered the phone and I came right out and said, "Dad, you need to know I went out and I got an earring today." Well, my dad responded by simply saying, "You better take it out before you come home." "I will not," I loudly proclaimed. I was so independent. I'm 18 years old. I'm a grown man. I'm on my own, and you can't tell me what to do anymore. I'm an adult, and I'll do what I want, I said. I took my stand. I was convicted. I was confident. I was ready for any and all opposition he would bring my way. And then my dad responded with this. He said, "Oh, that's great to hear. I'm so glad you're all grown up and responsible now. That sounds great. We'll be forwarding you the bills for your car and your health insurance as well, and you can start paying those with your newfound responsibility. Congratulations." I listened to this, and I confidently responded and said, "The earring will be out by Friday. See you this weekend." Taking a stand is easy until opposition raises its ugly head, isn't it? I mean, confidence and boldness is easy until something stands in our way and opposes what we're standing for. Countless strong and bold men and women have been left cowering in their convictions at the face of opposition and peer pressure. In our story of Esther this week, we see a different kind of man, a different kind of boldness in the man named Mordecai. Mordecai takes a stand that goes against an entire government. In fact, his stand is literally the fact that he's standing. Mordecai, he refuses to kneel down before the new top dog in town, Haman. Haman is the king's new right-hand man, and he really seems to enjoy the position and all the prestige and the clout and the fame that comes with it. He likes it so much that Haman wants to make sure that everyone bows down to acknowledge his presence when he walks into town. The only problem is that Mordecai is convicted that that's wrong. See, Mordecai is convicted that his knee will bow to no one but God, and so he refuses. And when Haman walks down the street, everyone takes a knee, but Mordecai won't. And this infuriates Haman. I mean, beyond words, it makes him angry enough that he wants not just to punish Mordecai, but he wants punishment for all of Mordecai's people, the entire Jewish nation. Haman essentially says if Mordecai won't bow down before him, then the entire Jewish nation will, or they'll die. Haman goes before the king, and he actually gets him to sign an edict that says all the Jews are to be annihilated. All because Mordecai won't take a knee. An entire nation to be obliterated, all because one man won't simply bend his knee before Haman. Now, to most people, this seems like a little overkill. Pardon the pun. But you have to think that to a lot of people, it also seems silly that Mordecai just didn't bow down. I mean, you have to imagine there are people, maybe even friends of Mordecai, who are saying, "Come on, man, just get down on a knee. You don't even have to mean it, but this is literally life or death for all of us." And yet Mordecai won't go back on his conviction no matter the consequence. Why? Well, because a conviction from God is more important and binding than a persecution from man. At least for Mordecai. I wonder, could you and I say the same? See, convictions are easy to stand for when no one opposes. Honestly, it's not that bad sometimes when there is opposition, as long as the opposition only affects us, right? But what about when the consequences of our convictions brings persecution, not just on us, but on the people around us? Mordecai isn't the only one being threatened with death here. It's not even just Mordecai's family. We're talking about genocide. We're talking about the genocide of an entire nation of people, and yet Mordecai stands. Because a conviction from God is greater than persecution from people. What convictions do you have about God? Where do you need to be more convicted so you can stand firm against the face of persecution? Mordecai stood because he trusted that the reward in the bigger story of God throughout history would be far greater than the temporary struggle of the smaller earthly story being played out before him. Which story will you and I focus on? Which story will you and I trust in and stand with this week? Our earthly one, or the bigger story of God who rewards the convictions of those who trust him?